Parvati Bhagini, you can start the Dhyana Shloka.
Okay, Hari Om ma'am. ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्ससुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनम् देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणतटा जयद्रथजला गान्धारनीलोत्पला शल्यग्राहवती कृपेण वहनी कर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी सोत्तीर्णा खलु पाण्डवैरणनदी कैवर्तकः केशवः पाराशर्यवचः सरोजममलम् गीतार्थगन्धोत्कटम् नानाख्यानककेसरं हरिकथा संबोधना बोधितम् लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरहः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पंकजं कलिमल प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः सुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। हरि ओम भगिनी।
धन्यवादः। स्थाने ऋषिकेश तव प्रकीर्त्या जगत्प्रहृष्यत्यनुरज्यते च रक्षांसि भीतानि दिशो द्रवन्ति सर्वे नमस्यन्ति च सिद्धसङ्घाः कस्माच्च तेन नमरेन्महात्मन् गरीयसे ब्रह्मणोऽप्यादिकर्त्रे अनन्तदेवेश जगन्निवास त्वमक्षरं सदसत्तत्परं यत् त्वमादिदेवः पुरुषः पुराणः त्वमस्य विश्वस्य परं निधानम् वेत्तासि वेद्यं च परं च धाम त्वया ततं विश्वमनन्तरूप वायुर्यमोऽग्निर्वरुणः शशाङ्कः प्रजापतिस्त्वं प्रपितामहश्च नमो नमस्तेऽस्तु सहस्रकृत्वः पुनश्च भूयोऽपि नमो नमस्ते नमः पुरस्तादत पृष्ठतस्ते नमोऽस्तु ते सर्वत एव सर्व अनन्तवीर्यामितविक्रमस्त्वं सर्वं समाप्नोषि ततोऽसि सर्वः सखेति मत्वा प्रसभय्यदुक्तम् हे कृष्ण हे यादव हे सखेति अजानता महिमानं तवेदं मया प्रमादात् प्रणयेन वापि यच्चावहासार्थमसत्कृतोऽसि विहारशय्यासनभोजनेषु एको तवाप्यच्युत तत्समक्षम् तत्क्षामये त्वामहमप्रमेयम् पितासि लोकस्य चराचरस्य त्वमस्य पूज्यश्च गुरुर्गरीयान् न तत्स्वमेस्त्यभ्यधिकः कुतोऽन्यः लोकत्रयेऽप्यप्रतिमप्रभाव तस्मात् प्रणम्य प्रणिधाय कायं प्रसादये त्वामहमीशमीड्यम् पितेव पुत्रस्य सखेव सख्युः प्रियः प्रियायार्हसि देव सोढुम् सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ परं वरिष्ठं ब्रह्मिष्ठं परमानन्दरूपिणं परमार्थानन्दयतिं सद्गुरुं प्रणतोऽस्म्यहम् So Lord Krishna had blessed Arjuna with Divya Chakshuhu, and because of that, Arjuna was able to experience the Vishwarupa, by which we mean that Arjuna is able to divinize the world and is able to experience the entire creation as the manifestation of the Lord. So when we look at the total creation, there are extremely wonderful things also. And when we see all those wonderful things in the creation, naturally we have an admiration for the Lord. And at the same time, the creation has got equal number of terrible things also. And Arjuna does not see those aspects initially. He is seeing only the beauty in the nature, right? So joy and wonders, and therefore he has the expression of Vismayaha or Ashcharyaha. So that we saw the wonderment Arjuna expressing in the verses from 15 to 22. 23 onwards, we saw that the wonderment started turning into fear, right? And last week, in fact, Shiva had a question on why is the Lord actually frightening Arjuna? Okay, so I just thought I should, revisit that before I proceed. Ye Arjuna requested for Divya Chakshuhu. Remember that Krishna did not give him this darshanam on his own. Arjuna specifically requested for Divya Chakshuhu to discern or understand the true nature of Ishvara, right? So through Arjuna, the message is everything in this creation is a manifestation of Ishvara. So Ishvara appears as the creation, and that means not only the good things which we saw in the Vibhuti Yoga, but the bad, the evil, everything, right? All put together is Ishvara, right? That's the second message. And then the third message is, a subtler message is, can we develop a mindset to accept the good and bad with equanimity, right? That's the other message, right? So if you see in the 38th verse of the second chapter, we see Sukha Dukke Same Kritva Labha Labho Jaya Jayo, right? So regarding happiness and sorrow, gain and loss, victory and defeat alike, you must prepare for war meaning Karma Yoga, right? So that is what we saw right from the second chapter. We are seeing that Krishna is trying to get us to a state where we can look at everything with an equanimous mind. Okay. Then what happens now here, as we were seeing the verses, Arjuna's sight falls on the mouth of the Lord. The mouth of the Lord represents the Kala Tattvam. So the destructive principle which swallows everything. And Arjuna looks at the mouth and it is full of fire, which consumes all the oblations offered. So another meaning is Kala Agnihi, which is basically scorching everything in the creation. Everyone is affected by Kala Tattvam, and every day we are getting older and getting closer to Yamadharma Raja. And nobody can escape this ticking time, and that is symbolically represented as the heat of the fire, scorching or affecting everything. So in verses 28 and 29, which we completed, we in fact saw two examples. Specifically, Krishna gave about the rivers going and joining the ocean. Basically, the river water comes from the evaporated, ocean water going up and coming in the form of rain. It joins the river, and then ultimately the river goes back into the ocean, right? That was the first example. The second one Krishna talked about was how moths, without knowing that they are going to get destroyed, rush towards the lamp, attracted to the light without knowing, right, that the lamp is going to cause their destruction. So we saw this in the verses 28 and 29, which we completed in the last class. The 28th verse was Yata Nadinam Bahombu Vegaha Samudramevabhimukhadravanti Tata Tavami Naraloka Viraha Vishanti Vaktranyabhi Vijwalanti. Right? And then we also saw the 29th verse where Yata Pradiktam Jwalanam Patangaha Moth Vishanti Nashaya Samudra Vegaha Tataiva Nashaya Vishanti Lokaha Tavapi Vaktrani Samudra Vegaha. Right? So we saw these two verses, and then we let us now enter into the actually almost the final verse of the fear part, right? So लेलिह्यसे ग्रसमानः समन्तात् लेलिह्यसे ग्रसमानः समन्तात् लोकान् समग्रान् वदनैर्ज्वलद्भिः लोकान् समग्रान् वदनैर्ज्वलद्भिः तजोभिरापूर्य जगत्समग्रम् तजोभिरापूर्य जगत्समग्रम् भासस्तवोग्रा प्रतपन्ति विष्णो भासस्तवोग्रा प्रतपन्ति विष्णो. Even as we read the shloka, we get disturbed, right? And some of them can even get deeply disturbed, right? But we will naturally be interested in knowing what is the response of Bhagavan. And we expect Bhagavan also to be disturbed by the events, right? Which unfolded in the previous verses. But to the surprise of Arjuna, Bhagavan does not seem to be disturbed at all, which is going to be a great surprise. And he's going to ask this question to the Lord. Not only Bhagavan is not disturbed, Bhagavan seems to enjoy the whole show like having a 5-course meal, right? With a dessert or something, right? Bhagavan seems to enjoy the whole thing. Therefore, Arjuna is surprised and he asks the question, "Oh Lord, lelihyase." Lelihyase means you're thoroughly relishing this particular event in which you're swallowing many and biting many, right? And obviously, Arjuna must have thought that, hey Krishna, you are a vegetarian, I thought. Now, not only you seem to be a non-vegetarian, you seem to consume even human beings and you are smacking your lips. Le lihyase means you seem to enjoy thoroughly, right? As you lip the lips and say it's wonderful. Arjuna is so wild, right? Le lihyase, you're smacking your lips. Samantad grasamanaha. So taking different people from here and there, you're taking from one side, other side and eating. All over the area, you seem to be taking people and putting in your mouth and swallowing and seeming to enjoy it also. Samagran lokan, all the people round. And grasamanaha jwaladbihi vadanaihi, swallowing, right? And Arjuna is using the plural number here. It is not one mouth, but through your several mouths, right? Jwaladbihi vadanaihi, you are swallowing all of them and you seem to enjoy. Not only you are destroying all these people, you are having an eye on the others also, because all the people you are going to swallow anyway, either now or after a few years or a few decades, right? Remember, after some time, all of us are going towards the to Yamadharma Raja, right? So therefore Arjuna says, Samagram Jagat, the fires radiating, shooting from your mouth is spread not only in the battlefield, but it pervades the entire creation, right? You have this lizard like a chameleon, which has a long tongue. It puts out its tongue and then it folds back the insects. Like that, Bhagavan seems to have a tongue all over, right? Samagram Jagat Apurya, spreading. Tavognaha Bhasaha, the fierce radiation coming from your mouth, Pratapanti, is scorching the people because the Kala Tattvam is affecting everyone, right? Hey Vishnu, O Lord. Continuing. Akyahi me ko bhavanugra rupah. Akyahi me ko bhavanugra rupah. Namostu te deva vara prasida. Namostu te deva vara prasida. Vijñātumiccāmi bhavantamadhyam. Vijñātumiccāmi bhavantamadhyam. Nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. Nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. After this terrible experience, Arjuna's idea about God itself is undergoing a total change, because all the time we are introduced to God, or God is introduced to us in a particular one-sided manner. Bhagavan is omniscient, omnipotent, all compassion, ready to help everyone. All beautiful pictures we have got. Karuna Murti, Deena Dayalo, right? That is what we refer. And now you seem to be very, very cruel even to Bhaktaha. In fact, many Bhaktaha will face the crisis of devotion one day or the other. because we are told that you pray to God and he will save you, but we all will face some occasion where the problems seem to continue and all the prayers don't seem to be answered at all, right? So for the first time we start wondering, right, Bhagavan, is he there or not? If he is there, does he have ears, or has his ears actually become weaker for us, right? So Bhagavan, does he hear my prayers at all, right? We start getting that fundamental doubt regarding the compassionate aspect of Bhagavan, right? So this is called the crisis of faith, right? So this will come as long as our devotion to God is purely faith-based and not wisdom-based, right? Faith or Shraddha-based devotion will always be shaken because the faith is blind and we don't understand the true nature of God. Therefore, knowledge of God is extremely important. Otherwise, our faith will be tested at regular intervals, right? Now, Arjuna is also facing a crisis of faith. Therefore, he asked the Lord, tell me, who are you? Are you really God? And what is your role in this creation? I have heard your Srishtikarta, right? I've heard your Sthitikarta. And there is a third description, generally, which we forget and we don't want to hear, which is Layakarta. Shrishti Sthiti Layakarta also. So here he is saying, therefore he asked the question, Ugra Rupo Bhavan Kaha, who are you in this Ugra Rupaha? Right? With this terrible, frightening, scary form. In fact, they say when Narsimha came out of the pillar, all people who were frightened, right? Even Lakshmi Devi was frightened. The only person was Prahlada who did not get frightened because he understood who Ishvara was really, right? He knew Aneka Rupa Ishvara and he also knew Arupa Ishvara, right? All these are mentioned in the Prahlada Stuti, right? So we confine ourselves to Eka Rupa Ishvara without thinking about Aneka Rupa and Arupa Ishvara. Until you understand Vishwarupa Ishvara, and only then the faith will become firm. Only after you understand Vishwarupa Ishvara, right? Then you know that Vishwarupa Ishvara includes Srishti, Sthiti as well as Laya, right? So you need to underline that if you don't understand this in old age, we will have a problem, a crisis of Shraddha or faith, right? When our own death comes, we will have this crisis, right? Therefore, Arjuna asks, Ugra Rupo Bhavan Kaha. So the fierce form of you, Kaha, who are you? Akyahi. May you tell me, Namostute Devavara Prasida. Devavara means, oh Lord, who is the Lord of all gods. Devanam Sreshtaha, right? Te. Nama Astu. I am offering namaskarams to you. Prasida, may you be gracious towards me. Not only I want to know who you are, because as I said, we only know you as Ekarupa Ishvara, right? But, and we don't want to invest in our, studying of the scriptures to understand Vishwarupa and Arupa Ishvara, right? Therefore, the devotion is incomplete, right? And only through consistent and systematic study of the spiritual scriptures under a guidance of a competent Acharya, and when we go through the Jnana Yoga, we are able to understand Vishwarupa Ishvara and Arupa Ishvara, right? And at that stage, you accept birth as well as death also. You will accept generation will always be followed by degeneration. And we have to accept all this, and this will happen only when our mind expands. Therefore, we say, Aham Vijnatum Ichchami. I want to know your role in the creation. Who are you? Adhyam. Adhyam means primordial one or the preceding one. I would like to know. Nahi prajanami tava pravrittim. I don't know what your functions are. I thought you came to rescue the devotees. That is your only function, I thought. But you seem to be destroying your devotees also, right? So from Arjuna's bewilderment and wonderment, now the fear stage has come, right? And first stage was emotional response of wonderment. Second is, so he saw all the beautiful aspects of creation. Second, the terrible aspects of creation. The third stage will come later, where Lord Krishna explains who he really is. Now Lord Krishna's response is going to come from verses 32 to 35. श्रीभगवानुवाच श्रीभगवानुवाच कालोऽस्मि लोकक्षयकृत् प्रवृद्धः कालोऽस्मि लोकक्षयकृत् प्रवृद्धः लोकान् समाहर्तुमिह प्रवृत्तः लोकान् समाहर्तुमिह प्रवृत्तः ऋतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे ऋतेऽपि त्वां न भविष्यन्ति सर्वे एव स्थिताः प्रत्यनीकेषु योधाः एव स्थिताः प्रत्यनीकेषु योधाः. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Lord replied, explaining his nature, Aham Kalaha Asmi. I am the Kala Tattvam, which has got twofold roles. One role of Kala Tattvam, as it causes the birth of things, and the very same Kala Tattvam marks the death of things. Anything that is born in time, there is a date of manufacture. Under that itself, they write whatever goods you buy, you are supposed to read that what is the date of expiry, right? So everything in the creation has got a date of manufacture, and there is a date of departure, origin as well as departure, and both are caused by Kala Tattvam, right? And Kala Tattvam is responsible for the ripening of the Punyam and Papam. As even the Punyam and Papam ripens, Bhagavan has to make sure he's the Karma Phala Adhyaksha, right? He has to give the Karma Phala. Therefore, different people go through different experiences in the form of healthy body, sick body, going to hospital. Some people think that, okay, this is the last time they are, gone, but they come back, they survive, right? And there is, nobody is able to predict exactly when the person will go, right? And during these Corona times, we see somebody was perfectly all right the previous day, and the next day they go to hospital and something happens, right? So the Kala Tattvam fructifies the karma, the Papa Punya karma, in the form of Sukha Dukkha Anubhavaha. So in the Mahabharata field, the karma phalam of many youngsters, right, are fructifying, because this is a battlefield and soldiers are the ones who are fighting, right? So there are youngsters and their karma phalam is ripening. And Krishna says, I, as the karma phala data, I am active here, right? And it is because I have to make sure that I administer the karma phalam, right? And behind the Kala Tattvam, I am the person who is there. He says, Aham Kalosmi Karma Phala Data Asmi, he is saying. And Pravrittaha. Now I have become active because many thousands are going to die in this battlefield. And two types of destruction, a single destruction and mass destruction, right? One person can die, or it is a mass destruction that we are now seeing in the sudden, number of people who die due to the virus, right? Therefore, Lokakshaya Krit Pravriddhaha, as the cause of mass destruction in the Mahabharata battlefield, right? Or say the First, Second World War, or this kind of virus. We have read all of that and we are also experiencing that now. Lokan Samahartumiha Pravrittaha. Now here I am active to take away many of the people, and for Bhagavan, he wants to remove the people, and he cannot directly do that. He requires some means or the other for the destruction, right? It's either a virus or it is a ammunition. In the war front, it can be a weapon, right? And so Bhagavan will take any route. As Swamiji says, it can be Yamaha in the form of Yamaha, right? The motorcycle, or it can be a water lorry, or it can be in the form of the doctor, right? There is a very famous Sanskrit shloka by Vaidyaraja Namastubhyam Yamaraja Sahodaraha, right? Doctors, please excuse, this is not my shloka, right? But namaskara to you, oh doctor, who is the brother of Yamaraja, right? Because sometimes Yama has to come only in the form of the doctor, or the death, right? Has to come due to some ailment, right? So always Bhagavan has the final last law. Therefore, he says, Rite Pitvam, even without you, Arjuna, all these people's time has come. Therefore, through you, I will get things done. And if you are not willing to do, no problem. I will get it done through one method or the other. Even without, right? Sarve na bhavishyanti. All these people will disappear from the earth. Who are they? Ye yodaha pratinikeeshu avastitaha. All these soldiers who are arrayed here in both the armies, both the Kaurava as well as Pandavas. He is not sparing the Pandavas, right? Continuing. तस्मात्त्वमुत्तिष्ठ यशो लभस्व तस्मात्त्वमुत्तिष्ठ यशो लभस्व जित्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम् जित्वा शत्रून् भुङ्क्ष्व राज्यं समृद्धम् मयैवैते निहताः पूर्वमेव मयैवैते निहताः पूर्वमेव निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन् निमित्तमात्रं भव सव्यसाचिन्. So therefore I am going to be the cause of death of all these people, Krishna says. Why? Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. My very avataram purpose is that I want to get these things done through one method or the other. If you become my instrument, it is good for me because my job is done. Bhagavan is declaring, if you become the instrument, right? Because you have done your duty as a Kshatriya and you have done your Swadharma, and therefore it is good for you also. And not only that, after this war, you will get the victory and get back your kingdom also. Therefore, it's a clear win-win situation. I also succeed in what I want to do. You will also be succeeding. Therefore, don't try to run away from the battlefield because that is the context. We must remember in the first chapter, the chariots came, the conches were blown. Then Arjuna dropped the bow and arrow. So he is about to run away. Therefore, he says, Tvam uttishta Arjuna, don't run away. It's our joint venture. Tvam uttishta, may you get up. And if you fight the war, that you have advantages. Bhagavan has his advantage of establishing dharma, and you will also have the advantage. Yasho labhasva, you will get name and fame for doing your duty and protecting the dharma. Not only that, you will get punya, but you can also enjoy, right? Rajyam samruddham bhungshva. You remember 13 years you've been in the forest suffering with mosquitoes, without any proper home, nothing, right? Without any protection. You will now get back your kingdom. Therefore, Shatrun Jitva, so defeating your enemy, capture back your kingdom. Samriddham Rajyam Bhungshva. So may you enjoy the prosperous kingdom of yours, right? With the destruction of these adharmic people, right? Because already anyway their karma has got completed and they are there for to die, right? The karma is such that they will have to die and you are only an instrument and you just have to touch, like, you know, the children's drama, etc., right? Where they just touch the bow and, you know, the person at the other end falls, right? So the arrow might fall here itself. So you have to only pretend to shoot the arrow. They will fall down. Therefore, Mayaiva ete nihata. All these people have been already killed by me, as though because of their own karma. And what is your job? Just go through the motions of the war. Nimitta matram. May you become a simple instrument. Bhava Savyasachin. Savyasachin is the name of Arjuna. Savyasachin means one who can shoot an arrow through the left hand also. Savya means left hand. Sachin means the one who can shoot an arrow with the left hand, right? So he's basically ambidextrous with both the hands. He could shoot. Very, very efficient. So may you become an instrument of mine. Now, this message can create a very big doubt in our mind, because Lord Krishna says, I have done everything and you become only an instrument. And this will naturally create, I'm sure many of you have already got this doubt in your mind. Really, does Bhagavan do everything? And are we only instruments of divine will? Are we simply puppets in the hands of the Lord, right? Does only divine will dominate really? Do we have a free will at all, right? A big question regarding the existence of free will can come, because Lord Krishna says you're only an instrument. That means Lord Krishna decides, and Arjuna does not seem to have a will at all, will be the question. Therefore, this shloka can create a doubt regarding the free will. we should note that this shloka does not negate the human free will. The Shastras very clearly point out divine will is there, but we should remember free will also play a very big role, right? If we do not accept free will, we can have several problems. So there are several arguments given by the Shastra to point out that we all do have a free will, and there are various arguments in favor of free will in the Shastras. All the Shastras, Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Itihasa, especially there is a work called Yoga Vashishtam, which takes several opportunities to grill the idea that every follower of the scriptures will have to accept the existence of free will, and therefore this line should not be used to argue against free will, and we have to accept the free will, and if we do not accept the free will, we will have adverse consequences, right? So Swamiji, I remember, took elaborate pains to discuss this point. So I also decided to actually put down the consequences point wise and discuss them, right? So we will quickly take this small diversion and look at the consequences that we will have to face if we do not accept free will, right? So there is a question here related to that only. So let us go through the structured, presentation that Swamiji had given during his talk. Consequences of not accepting free will, right? We're going to discuss 6 consequences which are not pleasant or acceptable if free will is not accepted, right? One by one we will see. Now, for those of you who are interested in doing some extra work, these have been discussed in great detail in Brahma Sutra. There is an adhikaranam called Vaishamya Naishgrinya Adhikaranam. Vaishamya Naishgrinya Adhikaranam, right? It is basically 2.1.12, second chapter, first pada, 12th Adhikaranam, right? So in case any of you are listening to Swamiji's Brahma Sutra classes, this is discussed in class 168, the 12th Adhikaranam there. Vaishamya Naigrinya Adhikaranam, right? The accusation, right, that Brahman is partial and cruel in his creation, right, of the world. That is what is the accusation by a Purva Pakshi, and that is refuted, right? So partiality and cruelty cannot be ascribed to Brahman, right? That is what is being established in that Adhikaranam. In very detail it has been done. We are not going to get into the details of the Adhikaranam itself, but that is what it says. Vaishamya means inequality, Naigrinya means cruelty or unkindness, right? And Purva Pakshi means the opponent accuses, and then the Siddhanti, that is basically Vyasacharya, explains in great detail as to why that is not so. The Lord cannot be accused of inequality and cruelty because of the need for the law of karma to act, right? So we will see how and why, because the prarabdha is determined by his own previous good and bad actions, and therefore there has to be action generated through free will. We will see that one by one. We will see. So the first one, right? So Vyasacharya as well as Shankaracharya give some of the points. Prasanga, in each of these slides you will see the word prasanga, means it is context, sir. First point is, if we are all only merely instruments in the hands of the Lord, right? Instrument cannot be taken as the doer. Why? Always karta must be what? The karta, the person who is doing, has to wield the instrument. Only then he is called a karta. So if the actions are going to produce punyam and papam as said in the Shastra, the punyam and papam will have to go to the instrument, or should it go to the doer behind the instrument, right? Punyam and papam will go to obviously to the doer only. So take this example. If a driver of the car hits someone and someone is injured or dies, is it the car which is responsible for the death, right? Or is it the driver who is in the car, right? So karta alone gets the punya papam and not the karanam. If we are all mere instruments, right? Karanam is instrument, then what will happen? We are all karanam, and who's the karta? Bhagavan, right? Because all punya papam will need to go to Bhagavan, because he is the one who is making all of us go through this, right? all the scams, all the problems that we have, all the akramams that are happening around us, whether it is cheating, corruption, for all that the punya papam, everything will be borne by whom? Bhagavan will have all of them, right? So Bhagavan will have the accumulation of all the punya papams of all the human beings, and karma is the cause of samsara, and therefore who will be a samsari? Bhagavan will become not ordinary samsari but maha samsari. So the first consequence, the adverse and unacceptable consequence of taking ourselves as mere instruments, will make Bhagavan a maha samsari, which is Shastra Virodha, because Shastram clearly tells Bhagavan is Nitya Muktaha, and if Bhagavan is samsari, then he cannot be called Bhagavan at all. So that is the first adverse consequence. Ishwarasya samsaritva prasanga. The context of Bhagavan being a samsari. The second one, right? Since all human beings are only instruments, an extension basically to the first one, they will never have punyam or papam, and therefore all the jivas will be free from punya papam. And since all the jivas are free from punya papam, jivas will become what? Asamsaris, right? And when they do not have punya papam, they are nitya muktaha, because they are only instrument. Big relief for all of us. We need not go through scriptures, we don't need to do anything, we just can live a life and move on, because nothing is going to accumulate to us and we are ever liberated, right? So if for instance somebody does a murder, then who will the judge then imprison, right? So you can say judge will give a notice, whoever finds Bhagavan, please report, because Bhagavan only made everybody do things, right? Then we will capture and we'll have to put only God in jail, right? So the second adverse consequence is Jivanam asamsaritvam prasangaha, asamsaritva prasanga, the context, right, of all the jivas being ever liberated. That's the second consequence. The third one is we are experiencing a lot of diversity in the creation, varieties of people, their bodies are different, many of them are fit, many of them are unfit, they have health problems, there is disparity in IQs, they are born differently, some of them are born with criminal tendencies. All these must be caused by whom? Because we are not responsible, right? We said, then what happens, right? We are all perfect in the hands of the creator, right? Therefore the creator or Bhagavan alone is the cause for these differences. So if I don't get marks in the examination, Bhagavan is responsible. If my child does not do well, Bhagavan is responsible, right? So Bhagavan clearly says, right? He says, Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyaha. In 10th chapter in the 29th verse, we saw that I don't like somebody or hate anybody, right? I'm never partial to anyone. So if different people are different, then who is responsible? Bhagavan says, I am not responsible. Therefore, who else can be responsible? We alone must be responsible. And if we don't take responsibility, we wash off our hands saying we don't have any free will at all, then Bhagavan's statement in the Gita will be contradictory, right? What is Bhagavan's statement? That he is impartial, right? So the adverse consequences, Bhagavan will have Vaishamya dosha, right? So that is the next one, right? So he is charged with partiality, Vaishamya dosha. Fourth one is Naigrinya dosha. God is cruel. The fourth consequence will be people undergo varieties of sufferings right from birth. They have lot of disadvantages, right? Suddenly a person is walking on the footpath, somebody just hits him and goes and he dies, right? So there is another person, only one earning member, suddenly something befalls on him and then he's suffering, right? And then he goes, right? So none of us, if we think we are all merely puppets, right, then somebody must be responsible for us being the puppet. Poor Bhagavan, right? And he has to be judged as cruel, right? So if in the floods suddenly something happens, or in the earthquake something happens, right, then we cannot say that Bhagavan is responsible for killing all of them, and he is maha cruel. So if we do not accept the law of karma, and if we don't accept the free will on the part of the individual, then the conclusion will be that Ishvara is a cruel, sadistic God. This is Naigrinya doshaha, right? Kruratva doshaha, right? So Vaishamya Naigrinya doshaha is what is referred to in Brahma Sutra, right? So then how can you call Bhagavan as the compassionate one, right? So this is the fourth unacceptable consequence. The fifth one is redundancy of the Shastras, right? If we don't have a free will and we are not responsible for our actions, and if the responsibility falls on Ishvara, all the teachings of Dharmam Chara, Satyam Vada, why do we have all that, right? So, for instance, instructions must be given to whom? To the instruction, to the instrument or to the user of the instrument. For car driving lessons, do you give the instructions to the car or to the driver, right? Driver alone has got the license to drive the car, not the car, right? Because the instrument need not be taught, right, regarding right and wrong. So whatever instruction you give to the wielder of the instrument, right? So if all the human beings become like car, right? So they are also programmed, right? Then they don't have a free will. And if we don't have a choice, then why have Dharma Shastra? Dharma Shastra is not required, right? Because we don't have a free will. So Dharma Shastra must be directed towards whom? Then we have to direct it towards Bhagavan. So you make all the people, you make all the rules for yourself, say follow Pancha Mahayajna, follow Dharma, and you do everything yourself. So therefore Bhagavan will become unintelligent to be giving Dharma Shastra to human beings, right? If Bhagavan looks upon us as choiceless, helpless, will-less instruments, Bhagavan will not be intelligent and give us a Veda and a Dharma Shastra. The very fact that Bhagavan has given Dharma Shastra, Bhagavan does not give Dharma Shastra to a buffalo, right? He does not call a buffalo and give him lessons on traffic rules, right? So throughout the Gita, Bhagavan says, very important verse which we saw in the 6th chapter, Uddared Atmanatmanam Natmanam Avasadayet Atmaiva Hyatmano Bandhuhu Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. You are responsible for your future. You have got a choice to take the right path. You have got a choice to take the wrong path, and you are responsible. Don't blame me, right? So he teaches 18 chapters. So if Bhagavan can make Arjuna fight the war, making Arjuna as an instrument, right? He need not teach so many chapters, right? He need not give such an elaborate explanation, right? And then at the end, in the 18th chapter, he says, I've given all my teachings. Now you do what you want to do. Yata ichchati tata kuru. So that is Lord Krishna's instruction to Arjuna. So if Arjuna does not have a choice, why should Lord Krishna advise him? Right? He could have easily made Arjuna fight, right? So throughout the Shastra, Bhagavan and the Acharya are instructing the humanity to be responsible and to choose the right course of action. So many quotations are there in the Shastra, right? So we can go through many of them, right? So the fifth adverse consequence is if human beings don't have a free will, all the Dharma Shastra teaching will become redundant, right? So the fifth one is Shastra Vaiyartha, uselessness, right? Prasangaha. Redundance of the Shastra is the fifth adverse consequence. The sixth one is the last one, right? Now, where there is a free will, there is a choice. Wherever there is a choice, there will be a conflict, right? Should I do this? Should I not do this? Conflicts are the expressions of choice only. Suppose your child is sending applications to several universities and then he is accepted in few of them, right? And maybe that's not a university of his choice, but he has to go through this. There is conflict. He has to decide what he wants and then he has to choose, right? But suppose he gets admission in only one, then there is no choice, there is no conflict, right? So everybody will naturally just go to that one, right? The very fact that we have choices, even when you take, say, in the traditional way of matching horoscopes and finding boys, etc., people did have a choice of looking for spouses and looking at the horoscope and then finding, one of them, and then, sort of looking at other aspects. So whenever there is a choice, there is conflict arising and you have to exercise the free will. Whereas if you see the cow when crossing the road, it is not having any conflict, or whether the dog wants to bark, it is not going to look at the time whether it is 11:30 or 12 in the night and what will my neighbors think. It will bark, right? So we human beings alone, right from getting up in the morning, Alarm has gone off. Today is Sunday. Should I get up or not? Right from getting up in the morning, every stage is a conflict, and conflict comes because there is a choice, and it comes from free will only, right? And since we have to choose, there must be guidelines for choosing, right? So where choice is there, there is conflict, and conflict is because of free will. And if there is no free will, like animals, we also would have no conflict at all. So this is moha abhava prasanga, right? Bhagavad Gita originated because Arjuna had the choice, right? Do you remember the word actually in the second chapter, in the 6th verse? He says, न चैतद्विघ्नः कतरन्नो गरीयः यद्वा जयेम यदि वा नो जयेयुः यानेव हत्वा न जिजीविषामः तेव स्थिताः प्रमुखे धार्तराष्ट्राः. Lord Krishna, I don't know whether we will win the war or not, whether it is appropriate to fight or not. Arjuna decided to fight, and that is how he was here. When he was in the forest, he decided. But now he is facing a conflict, right? And Lord Krishna had to educate Arjuna in 17 chapters, right? And the choice that you make may end up with good consequences or bad consequences, because karmanyeva adhikaraha ma phaleshu, right? Kadachit. So they all take karmanyeva adhikaraha. We have a free will to contribute, we have a free will to control, but we cannot control the outcome. We can direct the free will, right? So I'd rather say contributing free will is there, but result controlling free will is not there. So therefore, what is the 6th argument? Moha abhava prasanga. If we didn't have free will, we would not have any conflicts at all, right? So we only because we have a free will, we have this conflict or delusion. So this is referred to as moha abhava prasanga, the 6th consequence. And that is why finally Lord Krishna also said nimitta matram bhava. That word bhava is very important here. Lord Krishna did not say, Arjuna, you are my instrument. He did not say that. May you become my instrument. He is giving instruction only. The very fact that Lord Krishna says you may you become my instrument means what? He has a choice to become Bhagavan's instrument or not to become Bhagavan's instrument. Therefore, remember, even becoming an instrument of Bhagavan is a choice, right? Bhagavan's job of maintenance of dharma, and therefore following dharma is our job, right? And by becoming an instrument, if we are going to execute that dharma and establish that dharma, that is perfectly all right. But Arjuna has a choice, and if he doesn't know how to choose, there is a guidance of Shastra, and if not Shastra, Mahatmas are there to guide us. In fact, in Taittiriya Upanishad, it talks about this. In Shikshavali, in the Ekadasha Anuvaka, the 4th mantra, Etatra Brahmanaha Sammarshinaha Yuktaha Ayuktaha Aluksha Dharma Kamaha Syuhu Yathate Tatra Varteran Tata Tatra Vartetaha. And then it goes on and it says Esha Adeshaha Esha Upadeshaha Esha Vedopanishad Etad Anushasanam Evamupasitavyam. Right? So what does it say? If you have a doubt regarding a conduct, it says there would be learned people in your place who are discriminating, experienced, impartial, considerate, and committed to dharma. May you act as they would act. You can get their advice as well, right? And it is actually the commandment is coming from Taittiriya Upanishad itself. So even by studying the scriptures, if you are not able to decide, or you have not studied the scriptures, you are not able to decide, you can also go to Mahatmas for getting advice, right? Therefore, concluding, because of these 6 reasons, we have to conclude that we have a free will also. Therefore, our future is determined by 2 factors. Free will is not the only factor that decides our future. It is decided by our present free will based actions as well as Purva Janma Karma. So Purva Janma Karma is called faith or Vidhi or Prarabdham. I would prefer to call it Prarabdham. And present free will is called Prayatnaha. Prayatna and prarabdha together will decide our future. Neither prayatna is exclusive factor nor prarabdha is exclusive factor. Right? So, and even remember, the prarabdha has been generated by us in a previous janma. So Bhagavan did not do this, right? It is not that Bhagavan gave us 1 kilo of prarabdha and he gives, 50% punya, 50% papa to one person, and another person, my neighbor 75% papam and 25% punya, and another neighbor 75% punyam and 25% papam. He doesn't do that. Bhagavan does not distribute this, right? Prarabdha is what I have done in the past and what am I doing now in the present based on my choice. They are the two things that are important, and both are equally important. So if you give importance only to faith, it is called fatalism. If you give equal importance to faith and free will, that is a balanced approach, right? If you think free will alone is there and you don't accept prarabdham, that is arrogance, right? And Bhagavan at some point or the other will definitely give a, in Tamil they say kuttu, basically a small banging on the head. Therefore, don't go to extremes accepting free will only or to the extreme of accepting faith or prarabdha only. Accept both of them, and regarding prarabdha, we have no knowledge, right? Because it is not visible. Therefore, always go by taking the guidance of Shruti, Smriti and Shishtachara. Shishtachara means Mahatmas. Follow the guidelines, right? Thus, these 6 reasons are meant, you must remember, for those people who already accept free will so that they will get convinced of their thinking. It is only for reinforcing the conviction with regard to free will. Never use these as reasons or arguments against a fatalist. A fatalistic thinking is a type of addiction. A fatalistic thinking pattern is definitely a type of addiction, and it is wrong thinking and it is incomplete thinking, right? And it is incomplete. The reason it is incomplete is it considers only one factor, which is the prarabdha, and it does not consider the purusha prayatna or free will at all, right? So never argue against a fatalist, as Swamiji says, because you can never win an argument, right? So, and only thing is we have to know for sure that prarabdha as well as prayatna both have an influence on our life, right? So you can use the arguments to establish that there is free will, right? So therefore, Lord Krishna's advice in the 4th line is what here in this verse, Nimitta matram bhava savyasachin, right? So he says you have a choice, and by using your choice, follow dharma, and when you follow dharma, you become my instrument and follow dharma. Continuing, Dronam cha Bhishmam cha Jayadratam cha Dronam cha Bhishmam cha Jayadratam cha Karnam tatanyanapi yodhaviran Karnam tatanyanapi yodhaviran Maya hatanstvam jahima vyatishtaha Maya hatanstvam jahima vyatishtaha Yudhyasvajeta-sirane sapatnan Yudhyasvajeta-sirane sapatnan. Here Lord Krishna explains the 4th line of the previous shloka, Nimitta matram bhava. May you become my instrument, right? So the purpose of my avatara, that is my purpose, to destroy adharma and establish dharma. And I want to get certain things done, and I'm using you as an instrument. Therefore, without resistance, follow dharma. That this is dharma, you yourself have accepted, and then only you have come to the battlefield. Now, because of your attachment, you are trying to get out of dharma. Drop your attachment and follow dharma, then you will be my instrument. Therefore, he says, Dronam cha Bhishmam cha Jayadratam cha. All these people unfortunately have joined the adharma camp. Drona, Bhishma, which they themselves accept. Bhishma and Drona themselves accept this. Dronam cha Bhishmam cha Jayadratam cha. And Jayadratam Karna, Anyanapi Yodha Viran, as well as all other soldier warriors. Maya Hatanstvam. They have been killed by me, within double quotes, as though killed by Bhagavan. right? Which means according to their prarabdha, their time is over. Therefore, maya hatanstvam. Maya means prarabdha vashat, adharma vashat, tavam jahi. May you kill them. Ma vyatishtaha. In doing the duty, you cannot have a disturbance like, right, a police who is using an equipment to make sure that he is maintaining law and order, right? Ahimso paramo dharmaha, right? He cannot, the police cannot say that when he is actually doing the maintenance of law and order, right? Non-violent methods may not work. A kshatriya, a ruler, cannot follow ahimsa absolutely. He will have to take to sama, dana, veda, and lastly danda also, right? Danda not as a violence, but for maintaining dharma. Therefore, you have to protect dharma and let it not disturb you when you are doing your duty. When a judge imprisons a criminal, the judge cannot afford to have misplaced compassion. Misplaced compassion is an obstruction, right? For a judge or even a doctor, right? So doctor also has to treat patients and give some pain. Misplaced compassion can be a problem. So ma vyatishtaha yudhyasva, may you fight. Rane sapatnan jetasi, you will win over, right? So now what has happened? While experiencing the Vishwarupa Ishvara, Arjuna saw the beautiful side. He also saw this, right? He saw the fearsome side, and as a karma phaladata, he has seen that now the Lord has explained that he is responsible for all the sufferings of the world as karma phaladata, and even the death and mass destruction. He is responsible as a karma phala data or adhyakshaha, right? He is maintaining the law and order, and the world is a mixture of punyam and papam. Therefore, both good and bad will be there in the creation. So Arjuna is overwhelmed by fear and he asked the question, "Oh Lord, what exactly is your nature? I have heard that you are the compassionate one, but looking at your mouth into which people enter, I am seeing that you're relishing this also." That's the question he asked, right? So Lord Krishna gave the answer from 31 to 34, and we saw that Bhagavan pointed out that I am Srishtikarta, I am Sthitikarta, but please note that I am Layakarta also. Not only I am the cause of destruction, I am the Karma Phaladata also, the giver of the result of the Punya Papa Karma. As a just Lord, I give pain when the Papam fructifies, I give joy when the Punyam fructifies. And what you're going to see in the battlefield is the negative aspect of the creation, and I have to maintain the karma. So this is an occasion, and I have to remove many adharmic people from this world. For that, I have to use one instrument or the other. You can choose to be my instrument, or you need not choose to be my instrument. If you are a dharmic person, then you have to be my instrument, because you are also fighting the war for the cause of dharma, right? So you will get punya and glory also as a kshatriya. Therefore, Arjuna, do your duty, right? And doing duty here is being the instruments in the hands of the Lord, because Lord is doing his duty of establishing dharma, right? Or I should say is the karma phala adhyaksha. So Arjuna is going to respond to this new understanding of the complete nature of Ishvara, right? He is going to speak up. Before that, Sanjaya comes in and fills up the gap. So let's just read that. Sanjaya uvacha, Sanjaya uvacha, etat shrutva vachanam keshavasya, etat shrutva vachanam keshavasya, kritanjalirvepamana kiriti, kritanjalirvepamana kiriti, namaskritva bhuya evaha krishnam, namaskritva bhuya evaha krishnam, sagadgadam bhita bhita pranamya, sagadgadam bhita bhita pranamya, sagadgadam, right? So we'll see what that means. Sanjaya reports the condition of Arjuna. Arjuna is overwhelmed by the Lord's reply, because as an individual human being with a finite intellect, we can never understand the way of the cosmic events, right? Even to understand various conditions, in one's own body, the doctors struggle. Now we are talking about the cosmos as a whole, right? Therefore, the best way when we cannot understand, and the best way of responding is surrender to the Lord. Offer namaskaras and say, oh Lord, I don't understand your ways, but I don't want to understand because I cannot. I will accept whatever is the event that is happening in my life. I never question the justice of the Lord with the limited intellect that I have. This is called the surrender of the individual intellect in front of the total intelligence called Ishvara. This is the intellectual surrender born out of understanding the complexity of the universe, right? So sometimes Swamiji says, what will happen to India? What will happen to the world? What will happen to the environment? Will Hinduism survive, right? All these analysis at macro level, you will not be able to get an answer, right? So you do what you can at the individual level, right? And leave the rest to God. So Arjuna understands his position and decides to surrender. Therefore, we are going to see a series of Sharanagati Shloka, the Rakshognaha Shlokaha that we chant just before the class. So an intellectual surrender, not an emotional one. Emotional surrender is one thing. Intellectual surrender is born out of appreciation of the complexity of the creation. Therefore, Sanjaya reports, Etat Keshavasya Vachanam Shrutva. After hearing these words of Lord Krishna, Kritanjali, he would have never understood the ways of the Lord, right? That earlier. Now he understands and he expresses his surrender by holding his hand in Anjali, in Namaskara. At the same time, the sight of all these people suffering and dying does not go away from his mind. Therefore, his body continues to tremble with fear. Vepamanaha, trembling with fear, Kiriti, the great powerful Arjuna, Bhuya eva namaskritva, offered namaskara once again, right? Sagadgatam Vita Vita Pranamya Aha, with intense or deep fear, shaken with deep fear, Vita Vitaha. In Tamil we say, bind, nadingind. In English, fearing, you can't say, it doesn't make sense, right? So with deep, intense fear, Pranamya, again bending, offering namaskaras. Sagadgatam, with a choked voice, aha, he uttered the following words of surrender. Now we are going to enter the third phase of Arjuna's experience or response with regard to Vishwarupa Darshanam, which we will see in next week's class. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are some questions, so let me just. Okay, let me read them out one by one. Maybe some of them have got answered. Though the aspect of a scary form may be understood intellectually, somewhere I find it difficult to accept because we are brought up with the pleasant images of a graceful God. Absolutely. So that is why it is a journey to move from Ekarupa Ishvara to Anekarupa Ishvara to Arupa Ishvara. So as part of Vishwarupa Ishvara meditation, and by also other sadhana chatushtaya sampatti that we saw in the introduction to Vedanta classes, by developing a desire for moksha, by also having Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, that is, the mental poise, the equanimity, etc. Slowly we will be able to absorb the good as well as the bad of the creation as natural. Right? Sometimes Swamiji says, it's like the scavenger's role is very important. How often do we remember him and, acknowledge or, be grateful to him? So that aspect of the creation is also very, very significant, right? Okay. Second one, Arjuna could have chosen still not to destroy people and Krishna could have done it. Yes, absolutely. I said that the choice was with Arjuna. Everybody has their own calling and Arjuna was fighting the Dharma war exactly as Bhagavan's avatara was for establishing Dharma. So the choice is with Arjuna and you will see that he does exercise his choice by the time he comes to the 18th chapter himself. Okay. The next question. Existence of free will. One more reason. The creation of papa or punya during a janma is by free will and not by Ishvara. Thus, each janma arises out of action by free will. So through free will, someone can do good or bad action, right? And provide, and thereby, one second, I don't know, I missed your, through free will, someone can do good or bad action and reap the consequences. Exactly. So actually, the one way that you have to influence your future janma is by making sure that you lead a dharmic life and ensuring that you start your scriptural journey or religious journey, whatever. The journeys are different, but collecting punya is something that you can influence and do using free will, which is actually the only thing that you can majorly influence for your next janma. Wealth you cannot take, fame you cannot take, nothing you can take except this one adrishta punya karma, right? So, so a person can justify his wrongdoing saying, I am only instrument, God is making me do it. Okay, I guess this question must have come. Yeah, you could still justify this, but that is a fatalistic way of looking at it, and that is why I spent time discussing this. If a person is a born chosen fatalist, then his life is incomplete because he has completely shut off more than 50% of the factors that influence his living, which is free will, right? So it's more than that. It could even be 75%. I'm only taking a worst case scenario, right? So therefore, there is no point in discussing with fatalists. We will have to give them their own time to come out of it, right? So Krishna motivated Arjuna in many ways, right? Arjuna was not fully convinced. Finally, Krishna said he is taking the responsibility. That is, Krishna has killed them and thereby gave Arjuna a great relief to proceed to fight. He's basically saying that their law of karma determines all the people in the war, for that matter. Ultimately, only 6 or 7 survived, right? So all the people in the war have anyway come to the end of their prarabdha karma, right? That is what Krishna is trying to say. Now, even beyond this, Arjuna may choose not to be that person who is going to be killing everybody, right? So that is what is implied here. Okay, so I think I got all the questions here. One second. And does anybody have any questions? Let me just check any hands up symbols here. So I hope I answered all the questions that were there in the question section. Okay, I don't see anybody else's hands up here. Okay, Geeta. Go ahead, Geeta. You're self-muted.
Hari Om, ma'am. So if free will is something that we have to contend ourselves with, what is it that we can do to make it, better, so that our acts become righteous?
Okay. See, that is what we've been going through in the form of Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga. We saw the second chapter, third chapter, then the 6th chapter we saw Upasana Yoga, and we will be going further in the 13th chapter, etc., 16th chapter. What is Daivi Sampath, right? What is Asuri Sampath? What is the right way of living, and how do we develop Sattva Guna and lower Tamo Guna? All of these we are going to be seeing. And that is what Gita is actually a manual which takes care of all these aspects also. And it gives you a way of bettering your life, and you're not in a competition with anybody else, but from where you start off, you keep bettering yourself. The famous, the measure that I use is FIR reduction and CCC increase. I hope you're aware of that. Otherwise, I will pick up the session in which I did that and I will send it to you. I covered it in Introduction to Vedanta also. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else has any other questions? Yeah. Yeah, Mohana, go ahead.
Hari Om. How do we align our actions and thoughts with the Lord's action and thoughts. Like, usually we'll say, no, my mother would have wanted me to do it this way, or my husband would have wanted me to do it this way. The same way, how can I make my actions think that the Lord would wanted me to behave this way or do something? So aligning myself with his commands.
Okay, so this is what I normally tell, and Swamiji also speaks this all the time. God created these creations and also created a manual, right? And that manual is the Upanishads or the Vedas, right? So therefore, the Vedas or the Upanishads are the ones that tell you what and how we should live or lead our life. So the commandments of the Vedas or the Upanishads in spirit, when we follow, we are following a dharma way of life. And that is exactly what Ishvara wants us to follow. So Pancha Mahayajna is one of the ways of, making sure that we are committed to Karma Yoga in the right way. Other than that, Upasana Yoga, and then of course, as I said, the Daivi Sampradaya. So all these together will align with God's way of wanting us to live. Okay? Yeah. Anybody else has any other questions? No. Okay. And I think we don't have any further questions also. Let me just open that 1 minute and then we can close. Yeah, I think we are done with everything. Okay. Oh, there is some more questions. One second. Is it enough to do our duties according to Dharma? Why do we have to chant the Lord's name and pray and remember him all the time? This way we are not free, isn't it? Yeah. Now, this is typically the way we progress in our bhakti journey itself. So as we move from Sakama Bhakti to Nishkama Bhakti, and all the time we are aligned to Dharma and we see Ishvara as the creation, then we are a very mature seeker, right? So only as a child or a entry level bhakta, you need Ekarupa Ishvara and the daily rituals and all of that. But how you progress and where you are in that journey is totally personal, and only the person and maybe the guru can help you, and nobody else can tell you whether it is enough or not, right? Okay, so I think I've covered everybody's question also. So I think it's why Krishna did not say the death of these great people are their prarabdha karma, and instead said he has already killed them. It's a different way of putting it, that's all, right? Because Krishna has been discussing, he doesn't use the word prarabdha karma. That is the reason why he has said that. And Bhishma and Drona knew that, they were fighting on the side of adharma, and the war is not going to be, the war is going to have very bad consequences. They knew all of that, right? So I think all the questions have been covered. Right. Okay. So next week, same time, we will meet. Hari Om.